Hello, welcome to Farrell Swim Tech. My name is John Farrell. This is a live stream where I take my 15 years of racing experience and 13 years of private stroke technique coaching to help you get faster in the water. So, as always, thank you very much, Team Zoot, for allowing me the opportunity to use your airwaves and in order to share my knowledge. And I gotta say, I'm loving the new gear. Brand new team kit is being shipped. So make sure you get your duds. I'm excited that I get to wear my new kit this year on the race course. Usually being racing in early March, typically we don't get our kit before the races. I think last year I got my kit like legitimately the week after my first race. So that's always fantastic. I love it. One second. So yeah, excited to sport the new kit. Love the colors this year. Good colors, good design. Yeah, I will be at Los Alamitos Race the Base on Saturday. Gonna try and crack the top 10. I was 15th last year. I just did an FTP test yesterday. Went up over 20 watts. So now I'm cruising at a solid 246 watts for my FTP. Went up from 225. So yeah, so I'm looking pretty good. Feeling pretty good for the race. Let's just hope I haven't neglected my run too much. hoping for a 745 pace on the run. And then I just did a 207 200 freestyle the other day. So split about 101, then a 106 because I died. So yeah, it kind of sucks not being able to split sub minutes anymore. But I mean, I used to do a 136. I want to say it was about a 136. For 200 freestyle, but that was many moons ago. So I've talked about paces. Let's talk about your race pace. So this is kind of an extension and an obvious jump off point from what we talked about last week in terms of your training pace. So training pace, race pace. What's the difference? Last week, I basically said your training pace is not your race pace. Why? Okay? Why should your race pace not be your training pace? Here's the difference. Your swim typically is at the beginning of a very long and arduous journey for the most part. For most of you, those of you that are awesome and compete in half Ironman, T100, or the full distance Ironman events, you all know that the swim for a lot of you is I just want to conserve energy, which is fine, which is knowledgeable. That's a good idea. But you're also got a butt-long bike and a run leg ahead of you. So obviously you're not going to want to expend a junk load of energy in your race, in your swim, because your better legs are ahead of you and you don't want to drain the tank too much, especially in the swim where you can't fuel, okay? You can't, you're not like the long distance swimming guys and they got dudes with a little water bottle on a pole and they hang them out there and then they get on their back, take it, slam it back in, and just keep swimming. Okay? That's actually true. I watched the 10-kilometer race, and that was hilarious to me. Just watching guys and then just keep swimming, I'm like, this is such a foreign concept to me. This is so weird looking at that. But anyway, so race pace and training pace, okay? It is my very much so idea that your training pace should be faster than your race pace, okay? You should be, because, and here's my reasoning why. Because most of you are put yourselves in a box, Okay, you put yourselves in a box. You think, I can only swim this pace. I can only swim this pace. You can swim faster. Like for me, I can for me, I know what my box is because I've been training for years and years and years. I know exactly what my race pace should be. I know what my training pace should be. And the only way that I'm going to get faster is if I simply swim more every week. If I swim more every week, I'll get faster. My arms will get more conditioned. I'll be able to hold faster paces for longer. And I know what I need to do in order to go those paces. So for most of you that don't have the technique, that don't have, and I'm just talking about the simple fundamentals, pulling, kicking, streamlines. If you don't have that technique, you are going to be severely limited to how fast you can actually go. That's why I created this whole series to help you understand and incorporate that technique so that you'll be able to have the capacity to go faster, okay? Right now, a lot of you simply don't have the capacity to go faster because of the technical deficiencies. So what I'm trying to do is I'm circle logic there. Let's move on from there. Sometimes I just speak way too much, and I do apologize for that. So when it comes to race pace and it comes to your training paces, so we talked a lot about training pace last week, figuring out how fast you should be swimming. Your race pace will be different from this because of a number of factors. Number one, what is your emphasis on the swim leg? Are you weak at swim? Are you okay at swim? Are you fast at swim? Okay, if you're weak at swim, you're going to want to conserve as much energy as possible. More than likely, you expend a crap ton of energy swimming, and you're not getting a lot of benefit out of it. Therefore, you need to create, you basically create the most efficient stroke that you possibly can. Unfortunately, that means that you're going pretty slow. I actually know of a gal who's on Team Zoot. Now, I don't know if she's still on Team Zoot. I haven't seen her for a couple years. But she does not put her face in the water when she swims. She absolutely refuses to. She's tried to learn how to do it. She just can't do it. It just freaks her out too much. It's a mental game. It's a mental thing. And she never puts her face in the water. Because of this, she is severely limited as to how fast she goes in the swim. And she's just like, I don't care. That's just how I do it. That's just how fast I'm going to go. So I'm like, if that's your deal, you are going to have a certain race pace. And you're going to have a certain training pace. So that's kind of one of the more extreme examples of the factors that will go into how fast you're going to be able to swim. Now, so factor number 2, what can you do? How fast can you actually go? So, like I said, you're gonna hit a pretty big wall in terms of how fast you can actually go. You can only move your arms so fast in the water. And if you don't have the capacity to push the water backwards, you're not going to go faster. It's not like the bike or the run where you simply push harder for longer. Now, on the bike, obviously, we have different types of bikes. We have aerodynamics. We have, the capacity to stay in the aero position. We have how your aero position is on the bike. There's a lot of that goes into how fast that you can go. But it gets to a point where it's minimal gains, where you change your group set to a fancier, lighter group set, you're going to go a smidge faster per mile. I mean, is that really, in swimming, you can't really buy speed. You just can't do it. The only thing that you can do is get a wetsuit. The wetsuit is probably the only speed that you're going to buy. There's no, caps, the speed caps, you're given a cap at the race. It's mediocre. It's mid-tier. Okay. Your goggles, realistically, for how fast we're going, the goggles don't matter that much. There's really not much else. You can't buy speed on the swim. So when you hit this, so when you have the capacity to swim, you're able to, you know, determine how fast you can go during the race. Hey Derek, what's up? So remember, as Derek has shown up in the live chat, remember this is a live stream, and if I'm not making any sense to you, please let me know in the comments. So okay. So number one is, what's your emphasis on the swim? Number two, how fast can you actually go? And then number three is basically, how much energy are you wanting to expend? Now, this kind of sounds like it's number one, but it's actually a number three, because number one is, how comfortable are you at the swim? Number three is, how much in the energy hole are you willing to go on the swim? Now, for me, I'm very comfortable with the swim, extremely comfortable with the swim. Number two, I know how fast I can go. Basically, if I'm going, if I'm in a sprint, I'm willing to go sub 110s. If I'm in a mile or a 2,000, I'm very comfortable going between 110 to 115. I haven't done a full distance Ironman yet, so I don't even know what my race pace would be for that. I would guess it would be somewhere in the 120s. Actually, no. If it's a mile, I'm between about 110 and 120. I'm about 110 to 120 for the mile. Probably it would be, I would start my pace, if I'm swimming a full distance Ironman, I would probably start at about, I mean, right now with how much I swim, I would probably be somewhere in the 120 range. 20 to 25. I definitely would take it a lot easier for the full distance Ironman. Well, obviously, I would put a crap load more work in the swim, because I know the swim is where I could save a junk load of energy, knowing the dreaded full marathon. that is legitimately the one thing that keeps me from saying, okay, I'm all in, is that marathon run at the end. That scares me. I'm not gonna lie. That run scares me. But yeah, okay. So let's kind of take these three factors in, and let's talk about times here, okay? So basically, how do you determine what is your race pace? How do you know? Well, first off, easiest thing you can do is go back to what you did in your last race. Now, unfortunately, doing this is a little bit deceiving, because typically your swim stops when you get to transition. Now, sometimes they have the RFID strips, you know, somewhere near the water. 9 times out of 10 in the races I do, at least, you have to run all the way to transition. Unfortunately, this kind of screws up what your actual swim pace is. I don't necessarily count the run into the water, because that's a trivial amount of distance. I don't think that's going to sway your overall speed of the swim that much. So basically, if you use your watch when you swim, that's going to be your best way to figure out how fast you actually went during the swim. So using your previous race pace is a great place to start. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you win about a 130, okay? So you win about 130 per 100 in your last race. Let's just say it's a sprint, okay? So you win 130 per 100 in your sprint, and what you need to do is you need to first look at the time, and then you need to you need to remember, how did I feel after the swim? Now, for me personally, I cook my arms super bad on the swim, and I make sure my arms are just jello by the time I get out of the water. Why? I don't need my arms on the bike, okay? Basically, I just hold my arms together, and I can summon the strength even when my arms are pretty dead to keep riding straight. Okay? I don't need my arms. So I definitely put a lot more pressure on the arms. I keep my kick nice and light. I mean, yeah, it's my standard 4-beat kick. But I keep the kick nice and light, and I totally go hard on the arms. Oh, wow, that was a bad zoom. 1 second here. We're gonna be fixing this real quick. So basically with the street sweeper. All right, there you go. Okay, now we're back in action. So how did you feel after the race compared to how fast did you swim? So now that's going to allow you to get at least a baseline of what your race pace is. Now, what else could you do? Now, I mean, using your watch is going to be your best friend. Worst case scenario, just use your official chip time. Just use your chip time. Check it out on the internet. If you can't find your last race off of your Garmin, Apple Watch or watch du jour, kind of figure out, check your chip time, probably subtract or add in. So if your chip time, sometimes the chip time will show what your average pace is. So basically just take your chip time, divide it by the length of the swim course, probably add about 2 to 3 seconds to account for the time that you're running, because unless you're at a very, very slow walk, your run from the water to the transition area is going to be faster than what you ran. So you're going to add in, I mean, get your pace from that and then add maybe 2 seconds per 100 to that. Just, 5 tops. I mean, if you really want to be conservative, just throw 5 seconds onto that time and call it good. So this provides you kind of your baseline, and then wearables, your watch, if you use form goggles during a race, which I understand they are legal. I personally would never use it. If I was doing a full distance Ironman, and I would probably throw down for the premium to get the swim straight. That's probably the only reason I would use form goggles in a race. Because typically I only do sprint in Olympic distances. So I just don't really need it. And 2 of my 4 standard races are in a pool. So I don't need the form goggles. I don't need it. It's not long enough, and I don't need to be that accurate with my swim legs. But I mean, if you want to, that would be a great way to figure out granted, the form goggles relies on a watch in order to get GPS data. So you'll have time swam, you'll have stroke rate. I think that's about it. Everything else on form is basically borrowed from your watch in terms of GPS location, speed, all that good stuff. Excuse me. So probably, honestly, if you're doing open water, your Garmin watch is just going to be your best bet in terms of figuring out what your pace is. The form goggles are way more accurate for pool swims, by the way. It's just the nature of how the data is collected, because with form goggles, you have the sensors that trigger every time you do a turn. Your watch is reliant on GPS data, as far as I understand. Like I said, I've never had my Garmin accurately reflect how far I've gone in a pool. It's always been off. So anyway, so you now have your basis for your race, or your previous race. Let's say this is your first time. How do you know how fast you're going to go during your race? unless your first race is a full distance Ironman. Even if you're doing a half distance Ironman, okay? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what your race pace is. Honestly, this is a good discussion to have, to kind of think about a couple things. Don't fret over your race pace. Go and have fun. Okay? If this is your first race, absolutely do not worry about this topic. I'd love for you to stick around and listen, but in terms of actually spending a lot of time figuring out, crunching numbers, how should I do this, I guarantee you're not going to do what you think you're going to do. You're going to swim either way faster if you're competent in swimming, or you're way slower than what you think. There's too many factors going into your first race. Honestly, complete it, enjoy it, have a good time. Crunch the numbers afterward. Figure out what your race pace is. If you want to keep going, use that as your springboard. If this is going to be your first race, honestly, don't worry. Don't fret too much about your race pace. Now, if you want to figure out what you could do in a race, basically go to a pool and swim the distance. Swim the distance, figure out your time, figure out what your pace is per 100, and say, okay, I think I can do this. I mean, if you're trying to kind of figure out how long you can go, if you're going to actually make the cutoff. Now, the only time I would worry about what your race pace is going into a race is if it involves a cutoff. So in terms of, you must be finished with the swim leg by this time. That's the only exception to this rule. Because if you know you are a very, very weak swimmer, make sure you can reach the cutoff time. Usually the cutoff time, I mean, this is just for me being a seasoned swimmer. The cutoff time is very, very, very slow. If you go to a pool with the cutoff time in mind, like let's just say full distance Ironman, you got 2 hours. You got 2 hours or 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2.5. I don't even know what the cutoff times are for a full distance Ironman. You got to swim that 4,000 in a pool. See if you can make it under the cutoff time. That's the only time I would ever say, okay, figure it out before the race. Other than that, you're a decent swimmer. Don't worry about it. Go and have a good time. Figure out what your race pace is. You want to make it better. Go figure out how to. We'll talk in a few minutes on how to up your race pace. Okay. So that's if you haven't done it. Now, if you have done it, check your race pace. See what you want to do. Now, how do we better our race pace? Well, we just go faster during the race. But what if we don't want to gamble in that? What if you're trying to come up with a new pace for your race, but you don't want to have your race day be the simulation day? You got to organize some bricks. Basically, what you need to do is you need to have a goal pace in mind, and then you need to have ability. And then you need to have the ability to keep yourself consistent with that race pace. Now, obviously, form goggles, if you're flying solo, are going to be your best friend. Looking at your watch really sucks when you're trying to swim. Slows you down. That will screw up your race pace. So what I highly recommend is either A, use form goggles, or I know there's a couple other AR goggles on the market now, or you have a friend on deck. Basically, I talked about this last time, where back in college, we used to have a coach assigned to us, and we would tell the coach, okay, I want to split, like in my races, I'd say, coach, keep me at 57s. Keep me at 57s, okay? I want to swim 57s for this 500. Hey, good morning. So I was like, coach, keep me at 57s for the 5, keep me at 58s for the 1,000. So yeah, keep me at this pace. So they would give you hand signals when you're on time. So have a friend on deck with a stopwatch, swim the distance you want, and then have them check to see what have them keep you on with your race pace. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to either have your bike handy, have your shoes handy, or be at a gym. This is where being at a gym would actually be really, really beneficial. If you're at some sort of a health club, community center, YMCA, somewhere where you got a pool and you have a bunch of bikes and treadmills with you. So basically what you want to do is you want to swim your race pace, hop out, towel off. Nobody wants a bunch of wet people on their machinery. Okay, so your transition is going to be a lot longer this time around because you're going to want to actually towel off this time. So towel off, hop on the exercise bike or spin bike. Some places have a spin bike available. Spin bike's going to be your best friend. Hop on the spin bike or hop on the treadmill and run. Run 15, 20 minutes. How do you feel? That's going to be the big question, because you're going to expend a certain amount of energy when you're going on your race, and then you got to hop on the bike, and then you got to hop on the run. So basically what you're looking for is you want to swim what your race pace is, get out, do a second activity, see how you feel. Are your legs busted? Are you so far out of breath that you can't really do the next activity? Obviously, like I said before, the big change is going to be how long your transition is. And your longer transition is going to allow you a little bit more time to recover. I understand that. But what we're looking for is something to say, okay, I'm not completely obliterated if I go this fast. So that's going to be your best friend. Now, if you don't have access to this stuff, you got access to your shoes. Just go out for a 20-minute run after executing what your race pace is. That's going to be the simplest way to do this, because legitimately everyone's got a pair of shoes. And you can put it on the pool deck, get out, towel off. There's a fair amount of places that are, have a friend with you that you can just toss them your swim bag and say, okay, I'll be back in about 20 minutes. Go off on a 20-minute run, see what happens. So now how do you make your race pace faster? Well, simply go faster. Go faster and then try. Because the majority of you, so one of two things happens on average. Number one, your race pace is your training pace. I don't recommend this. And last week I talked about this a little bit more extensively, but my whole idea is that you can push yourself harder in the swim during your workouts than you think. Now, you're using a coach, follow your coach's recommendation. If you're self-taught, like I am, I'm a self-guided guy. I use my whoosh for my swim workouts. I kind of faking it with the run workouts, even though I got a really hot piece of tech that's coming in and I'm pretty excited for it. Should be coming within the next month or two. I'll need to talk about this, see if I can get on with Mark and talk about these. It's a Kickstarter down in Australia that made smart insoles. So basically, these insoles go in your running shoe, and it has enough pressure sensors in them to where it actually figures out where your what your run technique is. Like, this is basically your best self-guided run technique advisor. Kind of like with Form Goggles and Head Coach. This thing accurately tells you how you're running based off of your pressure points, and would be able to give you actual feedback on your running form based off of those pressure points on your foot. It's pretty wild tech. I'm pretty stoked to get it. They're finishing off the prototyping. Their Kickstarter got funded back in December. They're finishing off manufacturing within the next month. So hopefully within the next 2 months I should be able to get these insoles. Yeah, hopefully this will step up my run game. My pathetic 7:45 per mile on the run needs to get much faster for the 5K. Okay, so anyway, so with the swim and your race pace, you want your training pace to be faster than your race pace, just because with buoyancy and the minimal impact on your actual body, your body can withstand a lot more in terms of pushing your body in the water than you can on the bike or the run. You can afford your a higher set of rate of perceived exertion. And also, realistically, this whole zone 2 thing, this never existed in swimming. We never had. I mean, we would have recovery workouts. We would have one recovery workout a week. But other than that, it was pretty intense, most of the time with our swimming. So I feel like in terms of, how easy zone 2 is, that doesn't really exist in swimming. And if you find yourself saying, okay, well, I got to do zone 2, you're not going to make much progress in the water. I guarantee it. And the reason why is if you're swimming at a zone 2 pace, especially with the technique. You see, the technique in swimming is what throws everything off. If you're swimming at a very slow pace a lot, you're going to ingrain that slow pace into your head. You're not giving yourself enough time. If you're swimming 80% very slow and only 20% fast, you're only giving yourself 20% of the time to actually make any gains in terms of technique. Now, I understand the whole concept of not putting too much stress on the cardiovascular system, things of that nature. I'm sorry, I don't buy that in the water. Like I said, this is the swimmer in me screaming. And I understand, full disclosure, I'm not a triathlete coach. I'm not a triathlon coach. And I don't fully understand the whole rigmarole of the swim and the bike and the run and putting together a cohesive schedule. Yes, I offer coaching. Yes, I offer this stuff, but this is swimmer only. I don't do the other two disciplines. But everything in me screams that if you swim too much at this zone 2 exertion rate, you're never going to make yourself better. And given the fact that the average swimmer only has about 2 workouts of water in a week, you're not going to be able to progress. I just don't see a viable way forward for someone to progress unless that whole 2 hours is spent learning how to push water harder in terms of taking risks, trying to go 5 100s at 10 seconds, trying to hold 5 to 10 seconds faster than what you think you can hold. You're not going to make any progress. So what I'm saying here is a lot of you, I would surmise, your race pace is slower than you think. And I think a lot of it is because you don't have essentially, this is kind of like what I describe my daughter. I have a daughter, none of my kids are swimmers. My 2 older daughters are in softball. My youngest is 4. My son is my only hope, okay? My older daughter is not going to be a swimmer because she won't swim during the winter. We don't have indoor pools here. She hates the cold, despises the cold. So she's put herself in a box to where even though the water is 84 degrees, which is pretty toasty, if she just hops in 5 seconds later, she's good. She can't get herself out of this box. She's put herself in a box mentally, and she won't get herself out of this box. So I feel like this same concept applies to a lot of you, where you've put yourself in this box saying, well, I'm only a 145 per 100 swimmer. I'm only a 150 per swimmer. I'm only a 2 minute per 100 swimmer. But you've put yourself in that box. I can only go 2 minutes per 100. This is where you got to experiment. You got to try stuff. You got to be willing to put yourself a little bit. You got to be willing to push yourself a little harder than you think you can. The technique is going to help you move yourself forward at a much faster rate. But I feel like a lot of you can really benefit from taking a chance. Taking a chance and pushing yourself harder on the swim. Obviously, let your workouts be that test chamber. Try to not take it out hard during a race, okay? Some of you are a little adventurous. You may want to try that. It might be fun. You might surprise yourself with how much faster you can go, and you still feel okay on the bike and the run. You don't know. You just don't know, because if you say, I've consistently swam this for a long time, I don't know how to get myself faster. Try just going faster. I know, and I totally get it. I'm a swimmer elitist, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you just got to try it. You just got to roll the dice, see what happens. I mean, obviously, if you're doing sprints, it's a lot less risk. It's a much lower risk versus the reward. Now, if you're a mid pack or a low pack, absolutely low risk. If you know that your bike and run will propel you to a victory in a certain race, okay, it's going to be a little bit higher of a risk. You're going to put yourself more in a hole energy-wise. Is it worth the risk? It could be. You could. So basically what we're going to be wrapping up this discussion now, but all in all, your race pace is set by you. Use your past experiences to help determine what your race pace is going to be. Do some testing. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I got one last topic to cover. I almost totally forgot this topic. How to train your pace. So to finish off what I'm saying before, then we'll finish off today's discussion with how to train this pace. So sometimes your race pace is faster than what you think, and that's simply because you put yourself in a box and you haven't been adventurous enough to try a faster pace and see what happens. Now, and also your training pace should be faster than your race pace, because you're factoring in the bike and run legs, and you need to have energy for both of those. Your training pace, you should be pretty fatigued by the end of 5/100s. Whereas in the race, you got to do your 5/100s, and then you got to bike, and then you got to run. So how to train your race pace, all right? So let's say you've determined what your race pace is. Do 100s of that race pace. Do 200s with that race pace. Basically, you're going to want to do either 100s or 200s. Now, the only exception would be if you only do sprints, you can go 50s or 100s. And mostly if you only do sprints because you only have the capacity to swim so far. Take that 100 pace, break it down into 50s, swim 50s, okay? So you're either going to do 20 50s, you're going to do 10 100s. No. Yeah. 20 50s, 10 100s, 5 200s. Okay? Those are going to be your 3 magical race pace training sets. Okay? So do the 50s, do the 100s, do the 200s. Okay? So basically, if you're going to have a race pace training workout, what you're going to do is you're going to take your race pace, use free swim on Form goggles. Going to do a good warm up. Then your set's going to be 10 100s, 5 200s. That's your whole workout. So you're going to go get your warm up in, 10 100s, hold your race pace, 10 200s, hold the pace per 100 for a 200. All right? So now what you've done is you're now working on ingraining this race pace into your system. Okay? So what you need to do, because here's the other thing though, your race pace in the pool is possibly going to be faster than your race pace during the or is going to be, it's going to be faster, or you're going to exert, overall you're going to exert less energy if you're holding your race pace in a pool as opposed to open water. Why is that? Turns and streamlines. Okay? Turns and streamlines. Now remember, for me, I can go roughly anywhere between 8 to 12 yards underwater every single time. I have a good streamline. Good streamline, good dolphin kick. Somewhere between 8 to 12 yards. You're knocked off every 25. Multiply that by 4. Let's say I go average 10 yards. I've taken off 40 yards per 100 freestyle. I don't have those 40 yards per 100 in an open water situation. So my pool split is obviously going to be faster than what my race pace is. So now what's happening is, though, you're saying you're holding a race pace, okay? So your race pace is going to be easier to keep in a pool than it is in open water, okay? So this is why with your training race pace, you're going to set a pace, learn that pace, love that pace, do your next race, see how you feel after the swim leg. That's the key part of determining what your race pace is. You must go through after your race and say, okay, what did I split? How did I feel? That you got to do those two. Because if you just look at the race pace, oh, okay, I swam that fast. How was your bike pace? How was your run pace? How did those feel? Did you hit those bike and run paces? And was the swim, were my legs gassed after the swim? Were my arms gassed too hard? Was my overall system gassed too hard? How did that work? Those are the things that you need to determine when determining your race pace. So then you take that back to your race pace workout, which honestly I would say probably about once every 2 to 3 weeks do this workout. Because when you get to a race, you don't have a coach watching you. Looking at your watch is really, really, really not a good idea. Because it's hard to look depending on the water conditions, and you're like, your goggles could be foggy. There's a lot of factors that could happen. So taking the time to ingrain your race pace into your rate of perceived exertion. Like, for instance, me on my bike, I don't have a power meter. I don't have a bike computer. The only sensors I have is I have a speed sensor on the back wheel and I have a cadence sensor on my crank. So all I know is how fast I'm going. I don't know how hard I'm pushing. I have no idea. However, during my bike training, when I have, 10 minutes at a certain wattage, I'm able to feel what that power is like. And I understand, okay, this is pushing harder than I normally do. This is pushing at about what I normally do. So basically what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to ingrain your race pace into your rate of perceived exertion to where you're very comfortable diving in and saying, okay, this is how I want to swim. Obviously, first 100, you got the adrenaline running, you're going to go faster than you want. You want to lock in that pace speed pretty quick. Within the first, I would say, about 100 yards, lock that pace in and get going. Because I know for me, I basically sprint to get to the front of the pack. I sprint to assert my swim dominance. And then once I get there, I click into my distance gear. So over the years, I've learned 4 gears of swimming. Strong, long, build, fast. Strong, long, build, fast. Those are your 4 gears of distance. Strong is you dive in, you're riding the wave of adrenaline, you just get going. Long. Within about 100 yards, you basically lock into a nice long distance per stroke efficient stroke, okay? So in terms of split per 100, legitimately, you only want this about 0.7 of a second slower than what your first 100 is. And then build. Your third gear is build. So, so 200 and the 500, I use this for. So for the 200, it's per 50. For the 500, about your first 100 is strong. Your second 150 is long. Your third 150 is build. And then your final 100 is fast. Okay? Strong, long, build, fast. So over your third leg of your swim, you're going to start building energy. You're going to start building your pace back to where your fast is your last 100, and that 100 should be roughly 0.2 of a second slower than what your first, in a theoretical, should be 0.2 of a second slower than what your first 100 was. So you're going to go, so in terms of hundreds, fast, slowest, build, 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 second fastest. Okay? I may have had one more 100 in there than was necessary. So for very, very trained distance swimmers, we're able to keep our 100 split within a second of each other. For a lot of you, and for triathlon, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, don't split hairs on this. This is pool swimming. This is very controlled conditions. Okay, open water, throw that out. Okay, rate of perceived exertion. Because here's the other thing too. You got currents. So if the current's going with you, you're gonna swim a crap load faster than you thought you could. Okay? If you know you had a massive current helping you, be very judicious with how you set your training pace based on that. Like I've heard Ironman Cozumel has like a crazy current. I think Ironman California has a notoriously forgiving current that you swim with. You know, a lot of these river swims, they're going to either be you're swimming with the current, then you U-turn, and then you face against the current. Like, for instance, Morro Bay. Morro Bay had a high number of people did not finish because they couldn't overcome the current after the turnaround for the swim. I know Ironman Florida has had issues. Like I had a friend of mine who swam with me at BYU. She did Ironman Florida, and she said that current was one of the nastiest things she'd ever seen. And she's an ex-collegiate, so a very good ex-collegiate swimmer. And then like over 200 people did not finish because of the current. I feel for you guys. That would really, really, really suck. Okay. I have very much so sympathy for those that DNF because of a nasty current. Swimming in pools, we don't have currents. Pools are designed to minimize currents, okay? So I get it, okay? I understand. But factor that in as well when you're factoring in your races. I probably should have talked about this a lot earlier in the broadcast. I'm sorry. But yeah, so So rate of perceived exertion, understand that your rate of perceived exertion is going to, mileage may vary in terms of your actual time depending on the currents during the race. Also, inclement weather is also going to be a thing. Is it a cold swim? Is it a hot swim? That's going to affect your pace. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into this. So the exact science behind determining your race pace is pretty vague. However, if you follow this method, use your previous, do it during a workout, go for a run afterward, see what you do. Use a workout where you just drill clicking off hundreds and 200s or 50s with this race pace. Use that as an indicator of, okay, I now have a solid idea how this feels. Execute that during your next race. See how you feel. See if there needs to be modifications over time. Work your swim technique to bring down your training pace in terms of your time. Make your training pace faster. And then don't be afraid to set your race pace faster with your training pace. So remember, 90% of the time, you should be swimming much faster than your training pace. You know, obviously hard 50s, easy 50s. Easy 50s don't have to be, you know, they need to be easy. Easy stuff needs to be easy. But in terms of going 10 100s, 550s, stuff like that, make that your training pace, which is noticeably faster than your race pace. So hope that helps. Any questions whatsoever, feralswimtech@gmail.com. Instagram, Feral Swim Tech, YouTube, Feral Swim Tech, Rumble, Feral Swim Tech. Got to talk about my sponsors, H2O Audio. Use offer code Feral Swim Tech at checkout for 20% off your order, which is very generous of them. Thank you very much, H2O Audio. Noon, I'm on Noon's ambassador team. They're wonderful to work with. If you are interested in getting a discount at Noon, feralswimtech@gmail.com. I have an offer code for you. Unfortunately, I need to have your email, and I personally email you that. So if you're interested in 15% off your order, I think it's about 15% off. I got to dig through that. I need to check that out again. feralswimtech@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'll get you hooked up with Noon. It's what I got in my feed bottle, which I'm not sponsored by the feed. One day I'll be cool enough to be sponsored by the feed. Probably not. But anyway, also dynamictriathlete.com, offer code offer code swim at dynamictriathlete.com. 10% off, great stretching routines, highly love them. I'll be posting these in the comments later on today. I just don't have time right now. I got to get out of here and get my kids ready for school. So yeah, race paces, know them, love them. Got any questions, please email me. I'm actually starting my my coaching endeavor. I got one guy from the Lionel Sanders Discord. I call it Lionel Sanders. It's we're No Limits Discord. Tribute Lionel Sanders fan club Discord, whatever. What was funny was I totally mocked him during my during one of my swim technique reviews. They were like, "Yeah, the name of the Discord is pretty long, huh?" So it was like Lionel Sanders fan club, No Limits, multi-sport fans, whatever, endurance athletes. Is fun. So anyway, so if you like what you see here, hit the like button. Join me on YouTube and Rumble. So if you're interested in stroke technique reviews, send me an email, feralswimtech@gmail.com. I'll tell you what you need to do. It's a pay what you want thing. I do the review. You shoot me a Venmo. Also, if you are interested in donating to this endeavor, you really enjoy these broadcasts, you want to help out a little bit financially, feralswimtech@gmail.com. I'll send you a Venmo from my personal email account, so then you'll be able to donate at that link. So that would help out my own racing endeavors and get my kids Slurpees. So my kids have graduated from milkshakes, and now they're on the Slurpees. They're actually cheaper than the milkshakes from Del Taco. So shh, don't tell them. Good old 7-Eleven rewards app. Woohoo! So, all right, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Derek, for mentioning stuff in the chat. Remember, if you have watched this as a VOD, you want to join in on the chat, just leave comments. I routinely check the comments. So if you just want to leave a quick comment, with any questions whatsoever, I will respond to it. And yeah, that's it for me. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I need to figure out what we're going to do next week. I don't know what we're going to do. If you have a topic that you want to see on this broadcast, hit it in the comments below, and we'll take it into consideration. In other words, I'll probably do it. So that's it for me. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will see you at Los Alamitos on Saturday, and then Bayshore next Saturday. A lot of Team Zoot guys are out there doing those races, so I hope to see you there. Come up, say hi. I had Michael Flowers. Shout out to Michael from the Arizona area. He's not going to be joining me this time. Unfortunately, he said if he enters more races, his lady's going to leave him. Don't we all have that problem? So anyway, I'll see you on the race course on Saturday, hoping for top 10. So anyway, I'm out of here. So until later, my friends, good night, Isaiah Norris, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.